My pleasure to welcome and introduce Julianna Dreger, who is tonight's speaker. Hello. Hello, Julianna.
Hello.
Welcome. Julianna is a project coordinator who started with Health and Wellness Lab in May 2020. Her role within the lab is as a project coordinator for Project Excel, which is an acronym for Exercise for Cancer to Enhance Living Well. A fun fact about Julianna: she lived in New Zealand for a year and in Melbourne, Australia for 4 years. She also used to be a competitive show jumper. That's using a horse, I presume.
Yes.
Okay. And has a diploma in landscape design. Julianna's other interests and passions include traveling, spending summers at the lake, time in the mountains, being active, gardening, painting, starting but never finishing knitting projects, spending time with family, and coffee. So please join me in giving Julianna a warm welcome to our prostate cancer support group. Julianna.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much for inviting me to present, and thank you for the intro. You guys, you did some good research finding all those fun facts about me. I should probably update my bio on the website. Um, so I am a project coordinator for Excel, and I will talk about the Excel study during the presentation. My background and education, I'm a clinical exercise physiologist. So no one ever really knows what that is, but my background is in kinesiology. I did my undergrad in that, and then I did a master's in exercise physiology. So CEPs, or clinical exercise physiologists, use exercise to work with people who have chronic disease. We can work with healthy populations, people who have injuries, and we're working to improve fitness and function with an exercise prescription. So the agenda for the presentation tonight, we are going to take some time to review the exercise and cancer evidence, and then I will share some free exercise resources that are available to everybody. So, with more effective treatments, people are living longer with and beyond cancer, but we want to make sure that they're living well. So supportive resources are needed to better support individuals living with and beyond cancer, who are often living with side effects for years beyond their treatment. And our lab ultimately hopes that cancer care systems across Canada will integrate exercise into standard cancer care. And this will ensure patients are provided the appropriate resources to support their physical activity needs. So just like maybe some of you were referred to a dietitian or to a social worker, maybe physio, we also want people to be referred to exercise physiologists so they can be provided maybe just some information about how to get active, or maybe an exercise physiologist would work with that person and create an exercise program for them. So we're not quite there yet with that kind of integration, but that's what we're aiming for. So we have years of research showing the benefits of exercise for those living with cancer, and importantly, we know it does not undermine treatment. Now, where a patient is on this continuum will dictate the kinds of goals that we have and the kind of exercise prescription we would use. So for someone who is pre-treatment, we're looking to improve their physical outcomes as much as possible to reduce potential decline when they're going through surgery or treatments. And then during treatment, we're looking to just maintain those fitness levels or reduce the amount of decline. Post-treatment, we might work with rehab services like physio or occupational therapy, and we would use exercise to improve fitness and function, getting patients back to doing activities that they enjoy. And then advanced care and survivorship, we're again looking to improve or maintain quality of life. So, specifically for those who are living with and beyond prostate cancer, exercise can have some positive impacts on certain side effects that may be experienced due to treatment or the condition itself. So you can see cancer negatively impacts all of these different sorts of things and side effects. But on the other side of the coin, we know that exercise or physical activity can have a positive impact on all of these things. What I've highlighted here are certain side effects that someone living with prostate cancer might in particular be impacted with. So we can see, a range of different things, some more physical, but then also, mental health can be improved, quality of life can be improved, and we can reduce the risk of developing comorbidities or different kinds of conditions as well. Now, regardless of tumor type, patients are often impacted by cancer-related fatigue. It's actually the #1 reported side effect, but it can be really hard to treat because there's so many different factors that it can impact it. So you can see on the right here the vicious cycle of fatigue, where you start off fatigued, which means you'll have less energy, and therefore you're more sedentary. So you sit a little bit more. And then this can cause a reduction in fitness or deconditioning and muscle atrophy or that muscle loss. And then that then leads to a reduced amount of energy to do even just daily tasks. So you get more fatigued and the vicious cycle continues. So how do we fix this, or how do we try to improve this? Exercise, if it's appropriately prescribed, it can help improve fatigue levels. So what does appropriately prescribed mean? It means, in general, start low and progress slow. So start off maybe a little bit easier and at a lower intensity than maybe you think you need to, and then reflect. How are you feeling while you're doing the exercise? How do you feel right after? And then maybe the day after. How's your body responding to that? If you're feeling good, then maybe you can continue at that level and then slowly start to increase. It can be a little bit of trial and error. So if you feel like, you did 20 minutes and it was more intense than maybe it should have been, and you're napping for 2 hours after, things maybe need to be adjusted a little bit. But it doesn't mean that you just throw in the towel and that's it, and just forget about exercise. I can't do it. Drop it down to 5 or 10 minutes. And that might feel or seem like, how could that possibly be worth it just to do 5 or 10 minutes? But it does make an impact, and it's better than nothing. So we know that exercise also can have a very positive impact on mental health. It can improve mood, reduce risk of depression and anxiety. It can improve body image. We also see an increase in self-confidence and self-esteem, and that can actually translate to other areas in people's lives. So you might, after doing an exercise program, feel confident in that area. You think, oh, I didn't think I was able to do this, but I got through the 12 weeks. I was able to do it. What else can I maybe do that I'm not sure about right now, or I'm intimidated to try? So that confidence can then lend itself to other areas in your life. Another thing that a lot of our previous participants talk about is an increased sense of control. So in a time in your life when you have little control, you're often told what appointments to go to, when those appointments are, what treatments you're going to be on. You might feel like you're losing a sense of control over your life. But exercise can give you back that sense of control. You are showing up for yourself. You're deciding when you're exercising, how you're exercising, how long and how intense. And that can be really impactful. So I'll briefly bring up the challenge trial. It is a trial that looked at people with colorectal cancer, so it's not directly related to you, but it's a really important study. So they just published their results about 6 months ago. The study followed nearly 1,000 patients with colorectal cancer over 3 years. What they found was structured exercise reduced the risk of death by 37%, recurrence or new cancers by 28%. So if a drug trial showed these kinds of numbers, everybody would be prescribed it. These are really important improvements. And again, even though it was a study specifically for people with colorectal cancer, we have other research showing improvements in all of those side effects that I talked about. And with more funding and more research, we will hopefully also start to see, potentially with other cancers, these sorts of numbers as well, in terms of death rates and recurrence or new cancer rates. So, why is this important? Why do we need to tell everybody about this trial? It's showing that exercise is not just a want. It's a must-have for everyone living with and beyond cancer. So anyone who is interested in moving, but they're not sure where to start, they should be provided the resources to be able to access exercise oncology programs. So what exactly are the guidelines? So through years of research, exercise guidelines and recommendations for people living with and beyond cancer have been created by experts from around the world. It's suggested to get 90 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity or cardio. We're looking for at least 2 days of strength training or resistance training, and then flexibility on most days a week. However, all of you looking at this, or someone maybe who is given this on a piece of paper from their oncologist, might feel a little bit overwhelmed or not sure where to start with all of these different numbers. And that's what a lot of participants tell us when they first start our program, is they're not sure where to start, what is safe, what should you be feeling when you're doing exercise? How do you know if you're doing too much or not enough? And when we think about, general healthy populations and their activity levels, they're not active enough. So if we're asking someone who has a cancer diagnosis, who might be on treatment or just trying to get back to regular life, to also add exercise on top of all of that, it can be a lot. So that's where individualization and tailoring is critical for success. So that's where we consider your fitness level, your age, disease status, what supports you have, what barriers you might face to be physically active. And that's where working with an exercise physiologist or someone who's been trained in exercise oncology can be really helpful, or where those guided exercise programs can help support you. Now, I know when I talk about exercise, some people are not interested at all, and that's okay. Not all movement has to be done in a gym. The best kind of exercise is the kind that you enjoy enough to stick with. So it can become part of your lifestyle, and so you can start to identify as a mover or an exerciser. So if you're in a place where you want to start moving more, this circle might be helpful to get you going. So we start with finding your motivation. So do you have any particular goals for yourself? So that might be keeping up with grandkids. It might be walking the golf course. Maybe you have a fitness related goal like doing a 5K walk. It doesn't have to be fitness related. It can be lifestyle related. And exercise is just going to help you get to be able to do the things that you love. So once you've identified maybe a couple goals or things that are motivating you to move, commit to your progress. So you have that big goal, but then think about little milestones along the way towards that big goal. And take time as you're progressing to reflect on where you're at and how far you've come. And if you're not quite getting to that goal, how do you just adjust things a little bit? It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that there's an adjustment that needs to be made so that you can reach your goal. Consider making it social. So it can be helpful to have a workout buddy to keep you accountable. It's also really good to share your goals with someone. So again, it helps keep you accountable. Um, I find that sometimes a little bit intimidating because then it makes it real if I'm telling someone else what my goals are. Um, but again, it's a good thing, and even if you're getting a little bit off track or you need to adjust your goals, it doesn't mean you're failing. It just means that you're reflecting, realizing what is impacting your life and your ability to reach that goal and making some adjustments. Um, and the other thing is some of those barriers to reaching your goals, if you share that with someone, they might be able to help you overcome those barriers. So the next and last thing, well, second last thing is talking about those barriers. Life does happen and it's okay to get off track, but it's good if you have a contingency plan right from the get-go, because things probably will come up. So, if you have an appointment that comes up and you can't do your regular exercise class or go for your walk, that's okay. But what's your backup plan? Maybe there's a YouTube video that you can watch instead, or change the time of your walk. And then last is celebrating your success and your progress. It is important to reflect and look back at how far you've come. And again, that can translate and create self-confidence. And then it kind of opens the world up a little bit more. When you reach your goal and you see how far you've come, you start to think, well, what else can I achieve? Maybe you didn't think you'd actually get to that goal. And when you do, it's like, well, what else is out there? What else can I achieve? So hopefully these ideas might help increase your confidence in your ability to move, to help you identify as a mover or an exerciser or a walker or whatever it is. And once you center part of your identity on movement, it will just become part of your lifestyle. So I'll now chat a little bit about the free resources that are available to everyone, and then we will definitely have some time for questions. So first is our Health and Wellness Lab YouTube channel. So what I can do is share with James, I'll send an email with the links to all of these different things in our programs, and that can be shared around with everyone. So we have a lot of different YouTube videos, and in particular is our 12-week exercise oncology program. So there are 12 videos that are an hour long that take you through a really basic program and then progress over those 12 weeks and kind of build on top of that. We've translated some of our classes as well into Cantonese and Punjabi. And then we have our Thriver manual. So this is a 90-page manual, which is free to download. Again, I'll send you the link. It has a lot of great information that was created by my supervisor, Dr. Kulos Reed, Dr. Loren Capozzi, who is a physiatrist. So lots of information about cancer itself, and then also about exercise and how to engage in exercise, how to eat well, talking about some behavior change principles. So how to set goals, going into more depth on that, how social support is important in achieving your goals, and talking about maintenance behavior as well. And then they have some resources as well. So that is free to download. And then we have our exercise oncology programs that our lab offers. So for your group, the Excel study, which is Exercise for Cancer to Enhance Living Well, is available. It's across Canada. We primarily are trying to reach those in more rural locations because often they don't get all of the resources that everyone does in more urban centers. But for those of you in Regina and anyone, if you're in Saskatoon, you are still eligible for Excel because up until very recently, there weren't any other options available. So the other option that is available in Regina that James had mentioned is the University of Regina is offering in-person programs called Rest and Restore, I think. And again, I can send you the link to that. So those are in-person programs. And I believe the first program is free. They have ongoing maintenance classes as well, which I think there's a fee for those. The instructor who runs those classes, they've worked with our study, so the programming will be very similar. So that's an option as well for those who want in person. For anyone who wants to do programming online through Zoom, Excel is for you. So it is a free 12-week group exercise program. It's for anyone who is pre-treatment, on treatment, or within 3 years post-treatment. Now, the caveat to that is if you still have treatment-related side effects or cancer-related side effects that you still have beyond those 3 years post-treatment, still get in touch with me, and then I'll just reach out to your healthcare team and ask for a referral letter just so we have the documentation, but you can definitely still join. So our next programs are starting next week. Both of the classes, there might be a couple spots available in the classes that start next week, but we have another program starting the week after, and it is running on Tuesday and Thursday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Saskatchewan time. So if you're interested, get in touch with me as soon as possible. I'll be able to walk you through the screening process and registration process, but the sooner you get in touch, the better. So a little bit more about what to expect with the program. Like I said, it is 12 weeks. It's free. The classes run twice a week for an hour. And we're combining cardio, resistance training, balance, and flexibility training. We do a warm-up. There are 3 different circuits that we go through, and then we finish with a cool down. The first 2 circuits, we're doing upper body and lower body strengthening with that cardio as well, a little bit of balance. And the last circuit is working on core strength. So for our online classes, in particular, we need to make sure they are safe. So we do that by having the main fitness instructor, but we also have a secondary person called a moderator who is watching the screen at all times. So we make sure that everyone's moving safely, and if anything comes up, the moderator's there to help out. We also make sure that we have everyone's physical address where they will be exercising in case we need to call emergency services. And we keep our class sizes fairly small, so 8 to 15 at the most. And we make sure that, when everyone comes in, you can see everyone in the class, but then when the class actually starts, the instructor will make her screen big, so you're not watching everyone else or no one's watching you exercise other than the instructor and the moderator. So some common questions that usually come up. I have an injury and I can't get on and off the floor. Is this program right for me? So that 3rd circuit that I mentioned, where we do core exercises, often like the standard program is done from the floor, but I think almost every single class that we've run since the fall of 2020, someone will be doing chair-based options instead. So if you can't get on and off the floor, that's okay. We'll provide different exercises where you can still get benefit, but it's just done in a different way. I haven't done exercise classes before. Do I need previous experience to join? Definitely not. So the first week, we start with really basic movements, making sure that the core is activating correctly, we're breathing correctly, and then we slowly build from there. So the instructors have all been trained in exercise oncology, and they have a lot of experience being able to manage people with no experience to people who sometimes they have home gyms, they're, training to do, a 5K race or something like that. So there's a whole range of different abilities. And the exercise program itself, we're not really reinventing the wheel with anything particularly special exercise-wise. It's very basic movements. and we can keep them simple and low intensity, or we can increase the intensity for people who need it. So there is a range of abilities in the class and different experiences. Similar to the other question, I have no equipment. Can I still participate? Yes. So as long as you have a safe space to work out in, if you're getting on and off the floor, if it's carpeted, or if you have a yoga mat so you're comfortable, then that's great. Sometimes if you're working with a physio, they'll give you those stretchy TheraBands. Those are really versatile and they're great to have if you've got them. But if you don't have equipment, that's fine. We'll just work with whatever you have available. And I'm on treatment. I don't feel great a few days after. Should I join now? So that is really up to you and what you want to get out of the program. One participant that I will never forget, they were on treatment and they felt awful, but they said they wanted to join the program because it got them out of bed. They were able to, this program is almost like a moving support group. So they were able to interact with their classmates. They moved a little bit. They did a lot of exercises from the chair. Sometimes they just did a bit of stretching. But that was really important to them, and they were able to connect with their class. For others, you might want to wait. So if you want to get a little bit more out of it, or you really want to see big improvements, then maybe you want to wait until treatment is done, and then you might see those improvements. But again, it's really dependent on what you want to get out of the program, because we're going to meet you wherever you're at, whether you're on treatment or off treatment. So I will leave it there with some quotes from our participants and what they thought about the program.